I think I found the loose wire. Hey guys, welcome back. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you're so inclined. Today, we're going to talk about all this stuff and what I intend to do with it. This coming Wednesday will be October 23rd, and I'm going to leave at some point that morning and travel east 200 plus miles to the Smoky Mountains. And I'm going to take the next couple of days photographing, hopefully, the fall color change of the leaves. I don't know how that's going to work. Typically, you shoot for the third week in October, and that's always been a target. If we don't get the maximum peaking color change of those leaves, we'll find something else to photograph, I guarantee you. So I'm taking enough stuff to do my vlogging. I'm taking a medium format camera to do the majority of the landscape work. I'm also taking a couple of other cameras that are crop sensor cameras that will be used for macro and or critter photography. So I am redundant in my capabilities on this trip. So let me, while we're on that subject, let me talk about redundancy just a second. And you can sum it up pretty easily by saying one is none, and two is one. So if you've got one camera and one lens, you don't have anything, because if it breaks, and eventually it will, you're out of business. If you've got two cameras and two lenses, hopefully the lenses fit both cameras interchangeably, then you're probably going to be okay even if you lose one of those cameras or one of those lenses capability. I'm not going to carry all this stuff on my back at one time. I'll be loaded up for a specific mission, if you will, each time I leave the vehicle or leave the bed and breakfast where I'm staying. The Canon 70D is my vlogging camera. I'll show that to you now. It has a 10 to 18 zoom Canon lens on it, and on this crop sensor camera, that's multiply that by 1.6, so it's what, 16 to 24 maybe. Zoom lens that goes on the camera. It set on autofocus. It has the camera has a Rode micro with a dead cat microphone on top of it, hardwired into the camera. It's a pretty solid setup. I mount all that on a K&F Concept. Let's see what this is. It is a KFTM 2324. It's a lightweight tripod. It's got a I guess it's a K&F Concept ball head on it. I leave the vlogging camera set up on this K&F Concept tripod for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's easy to set down quickly if I want to bring my shooting camera into play. I can just set it down on the tripod close to me and quickly set it up to document what I'm doing with the bigger camera. It's also understand that by leaving the camera mounted to the tripod, the mass of the tripod will help stabilize the camera by soaking up some of my tremors. Now let's talk about camera support equipment. Gorilla Pod, Joby ball head. By the way, everything I shoot with has an Arca Swiss setup on it, so I can quickly add and release cameras to any tripod or any carrying device I've got. So seldom use this, but sometimes you just got to have it. So Gorilla Pod, Joby ball head tripod, Arca Swiss connection on top. Platypod Max. You can do a lot of stuff with this. Sometimes you can just leave the tripod at home, although I would probably suck my thumb if I did that. The Platypod has a Neewer ball head on it, also Arca Swiss compatible. Handy unit. Doesn't take a lot of space to store it. Comes with some tools that keep it pretty adaptable. Mac Daddy is the Really Right Stuff. It's a, what is this? It's got a BH55 ball head on it, which is the heavy duty ball head. It will support a view camera, although I never ask it to. The tripod attached to the BH55 head is a, let me get this right, it is a Really Right Stuff 34L. 4-section legs, carbon fiber tripod, very stout, will also hold a view camera if you need it to. I don't ask it to. Does not have a center column, and that's by design. I have tripods with center columns on them, and when you're tempted to extend that column, you introduce this kind of stuff to the stability of your camera mount. So stay away. It's also got performance heads, which you can make it work. You could do that with, so you can get pretty low to the ground and still have a very stable platform for your camera. I also carry a couple of smaller cameras with me in addition to the 70D, which is my major vlogging camera. This is a Sony HDR AS300. It's minuscule. It's slightly larger because I put an Arca Swiss plate on it. That just makes it handier for me, and it gives me a neat place to hold it if I need that kind of grip. It's stabilized. It's got a built-in mic, which is all but useless if the wind is blowing, but it also has a mic jack, which I can put a lav in, and I carry several lavalier mics, so always prepared. In addition to that little Sony camera, extra batteries, redundants, lavalier mics. I carry a GoPro Hero 4. This is one of two of these I own. The other one's usually attached to a motorcycle helmet. Redundancy. I can put this on, the way it's configured with that flappy thing on there, I can put it on the dashboard of my vehicle and use it to document going down the road or document somebody pulling out in front of me if I have to do that. Very handy. I put this aluminum cage around it. It is a Sublime Wear. Yeah, Sublime Wear cage, and it's sort of a, get that micro guard back in there. It is protection and also adds functionality in that I can attach some things to it. It's got threaded fittings, hot shoe, well, cold shoe, and it's just easy to work with. So, GoPro Hero 4. GoPro extra batteries, USB cable for charging or downloading, extra USB cable for charging or downloading of the GoPro, lavalier mics and mic adapters, because these older GoPro iterations require an adapter for hooking up a, what is it, a 3.5 millimeter jack to the camera. So a couple of those, redundancy. In the same vein, while I typically attempt to record using the camera, I sometimes will use this Tascam. What is it? It's a DR05, and it's a great little recorder. It's a little more expensive than the Zoom recorders you see, but it's a little more robust as well, has some more capability, comes in a nice hard case, and there's another mic in there. Redundancy. General stuff that I will take includes this is a Petzl. Yeah, it's a Petzl headlamp. And then I have another headlamp, which is called a through night TH20. It's a little brighter than the Petzl, but it's a backup. I'll carry this case. It's got lots of cleaning stuff for the camera. That and a brush and these Zeiss wipes. Can't have too many of these. And extra wipes and extra tissues. And also it'll keep some cleaning cloths handy for me. Shower caps in case it rains. Not for me, for the equipment. I'm going to the Smoky Mountains. I have bear spray. Also, in a pinch, it's an excellent deodorant. You know what that is? That's an old-fashioned lensatic compass. If you get lost, it's very helpful. So you can show the people who rescue you, hey man, I tried. The mother of all Swiss Army knives. It's got everything in it. This model actually includes power brakes, air conditioning, and another feature I'm not sure. Oh yeah, snow tires. Comes in this very handy case, and it's got a pencil, a flashlight, another compass, a magnifying glass, sharpening stone for the knife. It's very nice. Of course, it weighs 15 pounds, but if you gotta have it, you gotta have it. I carry cable remote releases for my cameras, but I also carry cable-free remote releases that'll fit all the cameras, as well as a Canon cheap release that I can just hang out in front of the camera with my thumb, and once the camera's set up right, it'll make it shoot. I also got a little spirit level in there, which comes in handy for all kinds of things. This is my favorite piece of kit. It is a loop with a flexible skirt on it. This brand is called a Lenux, L-E-N-U-X. They're relatively inexpensive. It's got a slight magnification, and it's sized to fit the back of your LCD screen, or your LCD screen on the back of your camera. I use it to look at an exposure and a composition, and because it's got this skirt on it, it knocks out ambient light, which means I can get a pretty good view of what's going on the back of my camera. Now, I don't use it so much to judge exposure, that's what a histogram is for, but for judging composition and seeing things you might otherwise miss because the light is so bright when you're looking at the back of your camera. My old eyes really appreciate this little piece of gear. Very handy. What else? Oh yeah. Old eyes, extra reading glasses. I think Costco or Sam's has 4 or 5 of these for less than $20. Indispensable. My main shooting camera is this medium format Fujifilm GFX. I like a large sensor, and I like a large file size for a lot of reasons. I like to crop, for one. I can blow things up pretty big with this and still get a meaty image. Also, seems like there's a lot more, what do you call it? Also, it seems like there's a lot more dynamic range with these large sensor cameras. So a lot of times I will shoot 3 or 4 shots of the same image, thinking I'm going to have to blend these together to get detail in all the areas where I want detail. But most of the time I can just do what I've got to do in Lightroom or Photoshop and work with one image. So it gives me options. So this Fujifilm GFX 50, I have 3 lenses for it, and usually I keep the 32 to 64 on it, and you can do the math at home to get the equivalent size for a full frame DSLR. I'll tell you it's something like 24 to 51 millimeter equivalent lens. And I have a set of filters, 77 millimeter, that fits this. Now I do have all the square and horizontal, vertical, blah, 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 blah. I do have all the square filters and a filter holder, Haida and Lee, and a couple of other manufacturers. But what I found is that it's just easier to carry the round filters. So in this holder I have a circular polarizer and a 6-stop ND and a 10-stop ND, and I have those same filters for each of the 3 lenses that I carry. You can see that's a 72 millimeter, this one 77, and the other lens I have is 82 millimeters. So I can fit those filters on the lenses, and if I have to shoot at a long shutter speed because I want to smooth out water or see clouds racing across the sky, or for whatever reason, I can do that with an ND6 or an ND10. And I also keep a circular polarizer for each of these sizes. So it lets me have a lot of flexibility without a lot of bulk. And I can blend exposures if I need to using these lenses and these filters without having another box to carry with all these square filters in them. So Fujifilm GFX 32 to 64 lens and appropriate filters. The wide angle lens is a 23, which I think is equivalent to about a 16 millimeter, pretty dang wide, and appropriate filters. And a macro 120 and appropriate figures. Now, this is a great lens for woodland photography where you want a little bit tighter crop on things so you can sort of separate the chaos from what you want to see in the woods. Plus, it's a macro, and it lets me tighten up, and macro is something else I like to shoot. Macro and critters, and sometimes macro critters. But this kills two birds with one stone. I have a dedicated GFX remote release, not an intervalometer, just a basic release where I don't have to shake the camera if it's a long exposure and I want to hold the shutter open. By the way, if you don't have a silver Sharpie in your inventory, get one, because it's great for writing what all these little pieces of equipment fit on the piece of equipment. I'll carry 5 GFX batteries. Each one is numbered, and I've written on it what the camera application is, and I've also written on it the month and the year the battery was purchased. These are filter wrenches. If you don't have a set of filter wrenches, get a set of filter wrenches. If you've ever had a stuck filter, you know you need filter wrenches. And if you use screw-on filters, you will eventually have a stuck filter. Each one fits a range of filter sizes. I've written that on the wrench in silver Sharpie. I carry a selection of SD cards from 32 to 256 gigabyte sizes. The 256 cards and the 128 cards are very useful in the cameras that have the huge file sizes. But everything's a backup and everything is redundant. I also carry a set of micro SD cards and adapters, and these cards, not only will they fit the big cameras, they'll also fit the GoPro and the Sony action cams. Everything fits in a waterproof case. This one is a Kiora Photo, and I think this one is an actual Pelican. So watertight, dirt tight, proof. Handy little beaner on this one, carabiner. And that's the main shooting camera, the Fujifilm GFX. Now, I think I mentioned I like to shoot not only landscape, but I like to shoot macro and critters. Now, in the case of the mountains, critters may be bears or similar sized creatures that could stomp or maul you. And so I like to keep my distance, even if it's birds, lovely little feathered creatures. They get skittish if you get too close. So, look at the size of it. This is a 150 to 600 Sigma zoom lens. Now, 150 to 600 is the focal length if you're shooting a full frame camera. This is a crop sensor 7D Canon, which means that at maximum extension, I'm shooting at 960 millimeters equivalent. So that's almost 1,000 millimeters. I can reach out there and touch someone or something with this lens without getting too close. The lens is at least as sharp as my Canon 1-400 IS2 lens, and about the same money. So handy piece of kit right there. Nice little unit. And that's on the 7D, which has a 10 frame per second motorized rate, which means good thing for birds. Now, in the macro realm, on this same camera, I can shoot with this Sigma 150 macro lens, and it gives me yet another bit of capability. And because it's a 150, I don't have to get so close to the butterfly or the flower or whatever it is I'm shooting, and that distance is very helpful sometimes. Also, something that's very helpful is having with the macro a strobe with a magnadome. Is that what it's called? I'm sorry. Mag Mod, which is you put a magnet on your strobe and you can change the light modifiers by just using this magnetized attachment method. So that goes on there pretty stout. And I can use this in conjunction with this wireless remote so that I don't have to have a long extension. And I take the light stand, but I don't always use the light stand. So I can use this wireless remote, part of it on my camera, the receiver on the strobe, and I can reach way out yonder and side light or backlight or even front light my subject so that it doesn't appear to be strobe on camera, which is usually very flat. We'll just put that right over there. I'll carry probably 6 of these batteries, which fit all my Canon cameras except my SL2 or 2200D if you're across the water, which takes an SL2 battery. And I usually leave it at home because the more things one piece fits, the better off you are with saving space and still maintaining a redundant nature to your practice of doing things. So I'll have to carry about 6 of these batteries, a couple of chargers. I have these remote releases for every camera. This one, again, using the silver Sharpie, is for the 7D. This is for the 70D, 70D. And in the spirit of redundancy, in case my major camera goes down, my Fujifilm, and I still want to shoot landscape, I'll have this 24-105, and I'll have this 16-35. And even on a crop sensor camera, that 16-35 is a heck of a wide-angle lens. And that's all the camera stuff I'm carrying and all the support stuff I'm carrying. I'll also be taking a Surviveware first aid kit. I'll be taking a pocket knife separate from the Swiss Army knife I'm carrying. I'll be taking some wellies, some high-top waterproof boots. What else? Snacks and water. So I'll have quite a load. I'll probably have 40 pounds or so on my person, just with one camera system plus the vlogging camera. Pretty good weight, but I walk every day with weights, and so I keep myself ready for this. At least I hope I do for an old man. If you have any questions about any of this, please let me know. I'll be happy to answer those questions and tell you why I do certain things certain ways. I'm going to leave you with some images that I've shot in the past that I haven't featured before in my vlogs. And the next time you see me, God willing, I'll be able to show you some images from my first day in the fall in the Smokies with some nice color, I hope. See you soon.